Hi, I'm Allie.
I'm Nick.
And this is the But Have You Tried bookshelf. Okay, so today we are talking about things that we are reading, watching, etc.
Yeah, and this is a bit of a milestone episode because we're 1 year in.
I know.
To But Have You Tried?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like that?
I know. Our knitting episode was technically episode 25, so
that's insane.
We can talk about it now. Speaking of knitting, I have started a new project.
Nice. What's the project?
I'm trying to do a hat. My wife helped me find a pattern, and it's like 2 knits and then 2 purls, then 2 knits and 2 purls, and so on and so on and so on. So she did help me cast on a little bit, but I did some of it myself, and now I'm just kind of like getting into it. But it's hard to remember. It's like if I'm just on autopilot, I can do 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. But then as soon as I start thinking about it, I'm like, wait, was that 1 or 2?
Yeah,
am I knitting or purling? What am I doing?
Are you doing it on straight needles or on circular needles?
Straight.
Okay.
Straight.
I'm working on a sweater for Caleb right now for his birthday, which I don't think I will finish in time.
Okay. Well, you just spoiled it. Now he's going to know.
Well, he knows already because I had to have him pick the color and the pattern.
Okay.
And the size because I don't know what size he is.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, it's got several different panels with cables in them.
Okay.
And so you have to like flip back and forth to get to the panel patterns, which is a little clunky, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But the other thing is they're all a different amount of rows. So it's like one is 12 rows, one is 24 rows, one is 28 rows. And when you get to the end, you repeat.
Yeah.
So now I have like 3 different numbers that I have to remember. I'm like, okay, I'm on row 7 and I'm on row 12 and I'm like...
Yeah.
And
that's a lot.
That's definitely getting to me. It's like I'm doing modular arithmetic just to knit this. So.
I already missed the simplicity of my bright blue scarf.
Well, you can always make another scarf.
I can. That's true.
Nothing is stopping you.
I can donate them. I can do whatever. That'll be just fine.
Okay, so shall we talk some about what we're reading?
Let's do it. Yeah, you want to talk books first?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have a book pick of the month?
Oh, remember we were doing that consistently?
We were kind of doing that. And
we totally forgot.
We forgot.
Yes. So my book pick of the month, I think I'm going to give it to Secret Empire, which is a Marvel graphic novel crossover. It's a Captain America story. How familiar are you with Captain America?
Sorta.
Okay. So there's Steve Rogers, Captain America, and then there's Sam Wilson, Captain America, or the Falcon. So when Steve kind of stops being Captain America, Falcon steps up to become the new Captain America. Well, in Secret Empire, they've used the cosmic cubes, or what they call the Tesseract in the MCU.
Okay, yeah.
And they use it to rewrite history to make it so that Steve Rogers, Captain America, was always a Hydra agent, like a sleeper agent.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it upsets everything. And Secret Empire is about him slowly taking control of the U.S. and then being like, surprise, I'm Hydra, after he's trapped Captain Marvel and all of the like most powerful superheroes off the grid fighting the Chiari like in space, and they put up this planet.
That's bad.
So now it's like Captain America in charge of everything, who's secretly, or not anymore secretly, Hydra. And then you have Sam Wilson, and you have some of the more street-level characters like Hawkeye and Black Widow, and then Ms. Marvel and others sort of forging this resistance to try to like stop him. Meanwhile, they're trying to figure out, how do we write this crazy thing that happened with the Cosmic Cube?
Right.
So,
yeah, that's kind of an issue.
So I read the main title, which is 10 issues, but I found a reading order and I read all of the stray like little stories that interconnect with it. And so I read them in order. So I'd read like Secret Empire #1, and then I would read like Secret Warriors and like Champions and Captain Marvel, all sort of in line. So it made this whole big story, and it was pretty fun.
Nice.
It was pretty fun.
That does sound fun.
Years ago, I did this with Green Lantern, where there was a big Green Lantern crossover, and this was before the apps and stuff. So I got 5 or 6 Green Lantern hardcovers through interlibrary loan at the library, and I just set them all around, and my friend and I had a reading order, and we just like would pass the hardcovers around. So it was very throwback. The only thing I will say negatively about Secret Empire is that you know that Captain America is not going to remain a villain. There's no way that he's going to stay a Hydra agent
That feels like something you just can't do.
I feel like they missed an opportunity to play up some of the character development from some of the others. And there was a little side story about Cap sort of being trapped inside the Cosmic Cube where he's trying to break free. I think if they would have pushed those up a little higher and made them equal with the whole Hydra story, it would have been a better character piece. But I still thought it was a good time. And we have lots of Captain America, both Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson here in the collection, so you can come and check them out. A few honorable mentions I'll give you. I read Making It So by Patrick Stewart. How do you feel about Patrick Stewart?
I like Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, don't read the book then, because
Oh no. Oh no.
I like the book, and now I think a little less of Patrick Stewart after having read it.
Ooh,
So
that's
yeah,
not what I want to hear.
So it was a little. I don't know that I would really recommend it. It's hard to say. But, it takes a long time to get to the stuff that I feel like a lot of people would be waiting for, like Star Trek or X-Men. That's like really, really late in the game. It's a lot on his early childhood, which I found really fascinating. The Shakespeare era was interesting, but it also kind of went on a little bit. So he reads the audiobook, which is fun.
That is fun.
And overall, I did enjoy the book, but I was kind of like, okay, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, that's
but
unfortunate.
it did encourage me to read some Shakespeare, so I'm reading King John by old Bill Shakespeare.
I feel like that's not usually a first pull Shakespeare to be like, you know what? I'm going to read King John.
Well, here's why I picked King John. Because we are talking about doing a Shakespeare thing here at the library, and in the play that's being discussed is Henry V.
Okay.
And so I was like, I should read that. And then I was like, maybe I'll just read the historical plays. And so I looked at which one was chronologically first, and it was King John. So I was like, I'll just start there.
I don't know if I've read any of the historical plays. Like, I've read a decent amount, and I've seen a decent amount. But I don't know if I've read any of the historical plays.
I'm trying to think what I've actually... I know my brother was in King Lear, and I saw that. And I saw some in college. I did the Porter scene from Macbeth when I was in high school. And I read As You Like It. And maybe that's it. So, and I was in West Side Story, so obviously.
Obviously.
Do you have a favorite Shakespeare?
Probably King Lear.
King Lear.
It just is the best. I don't know what else to say.
All right.
All
right.
My least favorite is Othello, though.
Really?
The worst. I hate it.
Interesting.
Well, have you read it or seen it at all?
I know of it, but no, I haven't seen it.
Okay, so it's like the whole time this guy is just like whispering in Othello's ear and like convincing him that his wife is like not in love with him and cheating on him and whatever. And he's just like so horrible and icky and just like it's like a villain that's so bad they're not even enjoyable. They're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
And that's basically the whole play. And then a lot of people die.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's great.
You know what? I have seen the Kenneth Branagh, Emma Thompson, Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh, that's so good.
And I also saw the later, like the black and white one that was filmed with like Alexei Denihoff and others. It was more recent. Reading the Patrick Stewart book, though, I was like, I need to see this Patrick Stewart, David Tennant Hamlet.
That does sound good.
I feel like that's something that I might enjoy. So, of course, 10 Things I Hate About You also
a classic.
So,
and better than the original play, I will say.
Do you think so? Okay. Well, it's a great movie. I've got no complaints. And the show was actually pretty good, too. But the only other thing on my reading list right now is Faces of Fire by Michael Jan Friedman, which is just an old-school Star Trek novel. Nice. I haven't read one in a while, and I was like, now is the time. Did you finish that Star Trek graphic novel?
I have not.
Okay. So then what are you reading?
Okay, well, I just finished reading A Face Like Glass, which is probably my pick of the month.
Okay. Bum-ba-da.
Yeah, I know. We should have like a little fancy horn.
Yeah. What is this? I don't know what it is.
Okay, so it is a YA fantasy.
You seem
novel?
Really uncertain about that.
It's like, I have to say that it's fantasy because it's definitely not fantasy, but it's not very typical for fantasy, I guess. It's more just like loosely speculative.
Okay.
And this is one that my brother wanted me to read, so I convinced him to read another book.
Wow.
And he convinced me to read this in exchange.
You guys are just in a constant...
I know.
You know what? Making It So with Patrick Stewart, I did read with my brother. So
nice.
There you go. His birthday's coming up, and we have a book club on his birthday, so we're doing the
Nice.
Patrick Stewart book. So
that seems like a good way to
I'm also reading
celebrate.
with siblings, so you're not the only one.
Okay. We can all read with our siblings.
Okay, good.
Anyway, so basically what it's about is this girl who has grown up in this cavern kingdom.
Okay.
Where people make these like sort of magical delicacies, like wine that can make you forget stuff, or like...
Isn't that just wine?
Yeah, maybe. Or like perfume that can make you like basically manipulate you in someone's favor and stuff like that.
All right.
The other main thing about this cavern is that no one who like lives there, like their faces don't move. They don't just like naturally make facial expressions.
Yeah.
They have to like learn to make facial expressions.
That sounds creepy.
It is a little
That's a
creepy. This is the book
thing.
that has the like black mask on that looks really creepy on the front.
Yes.
That is a turnoff, I will say.
Yeah.
Is the cover.
Ugh.
Yeah, not a fan of that.
You know what? I have a book that I read. I just read this Green Hornet book we have in the collection. The cover is super serious, and I've like not wanted to read it. The inside art is all like bubbly and fun, and like sort of this got this 50s sheen to it. It's really great.
Why do they do that?
Why
to
do they
us?
do it?
I don't
know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's like we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but like if you're giving
We
me
do.
a cover that's like actively turning me away,
Yeah.
what
And
are you
that's a
what are you
problem.
doing?
So how did you feel about the book overall?
I liked the book.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very fascinating because there's like the main character is from outside, so she like actually does just naturally make faces based on how she's feeling,
as we do,
which freaks everyone out and like causes all
Oh.
kinds of like complicated
Okay.
court dynamics and
Yeah.
like assassination attempts and plots and everything.
Yeah.
So, and like I like a good like intriguey court, you know, sort of mysterious.
Sure.
So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed
Okay.
it overall.
Nice.
So I also read a couple other things.
Okay.
I read That Can Be Arranged by Huda Fahmy, which is the author who wrote Huda FRU and
Oh, yeah,
Huda
yeah.
F Cares.
You can check out Ellie's staff review on TikTok.
That's true. And Huda Fahmy actually like commented on it.
I
and
saw
I freaked
that.
out a little
That's
bit. I was
fun
like,
when
oh my
that- I
gosh,
know.
oh my gosh.
That is fun when that happens.
I'm like, good thing I said positive things.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple times authors have liked my review of their book on Goodreads. And again, I'm always like, oh, wow, that was unexpected.
Yeah.
But this is the story of how she and her husband met and got married, basically.
Uh-huh.
And it like keeps the same kind of comic-y style of the other books of hers that I've read. And it's just like cute and hilarious and
Okay.
references Pride and Prejudice. So that's a win in my book.
We had a whole episode of Pride and Prejudice.
We
Do
did.
you remember that?
It was a good time.
Yeah, it was.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And I also read, so we've been working on this project in the stacks where we're making a vintage collection.
I know. It's very cool.
I'm
Yeah.
super
So we
excited
got a lot
about
of cool
it.
stuff.
We have a lot of really cool, old, beautiful vintagey books.
The King John that I'm reading, I checked out from the adult stacks, and it's from 1915 and had like pencil notations in it. I mean,
gosh.
it's over 100 years old, and I'm just like sitting on my couch flipping through it. Lots
As
of cool
you do.
stuff.
Oh.
Lots of cool stuff
Yeah.
here in the collection.
So basically in the kids stacks, we're putting all of the like beautiful vintagey books together so
Yeah.
they're easier to browse, and so it's easier to browse the rest of the collection.
Yeah.
And so I've mostly been working on this, which means I've been like looking at every single old book that we
Okay.
own in the kids stacks, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But in the process, I found these books called, one of them is Morton and Wharton by Russell E. Erickson, and another one is A Toad for Tuesday.
Okay.
And I looked at the cover and I was like, this looks like Frog and Toad, but not Frog and Toad.
Yeah.
And I love Frog and Toad.
I've seen your Halloween costume, so I'm aware.
There's just like, there's nothing bad about Frog and Toad.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's
Yeah.
all a win.
It's positive, sure.
So I was like, all right, clearly I'm going to check these out and read them and see if they like fill my need for more Frog and Toad.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of did. I was pleased.
That's good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's like about two Toad brothers going on adventures, almost
If-
getting eaten by owls, all that.
If you come across the many loves of Dobie Gillis in our youth stacks, don't get rid of it, because I love that book.
I don't know if I've noticed that.
Okay.
Now I feel like I have to look. Who's
Okay.
the author?
Max Schulman.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
have to take a peek and see
Yeah,
if I
it's
can
really
find
fun. There was a play, and then there was also a TV show, late 50s, I think, maybe early 60s. But the book is great. But that's one that should go in our vintage collection because it's classic.
it. Nice. So yeah, I think that's more or less what I have been reading lately.
Okay.
And I am trying to mark my hours for Beat the Winter Chill.
Good plug for the winter reading program. I am doing the same. I think I'm underestimating how much I'm actually doing,
Yeah,
but I'm
it's
trying
like
to make
really
sure
hard if
it
you like
is.
don't look exactly when you
I
start
know.
and exactly when you stop,
know.
and then like add it all up at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I'm also like constantly reading. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like either an
that makes
audiobook
sense.
or sitting down and like reading a
Right,
chapter.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's like, who knows? You know?
I know. Yeah. It's definitely hard to calculate. And I feel like the first week I was like, yeah, I'm going to be really precise. I'm
Uh-huh.
going to do a great job.
Uh-huh.
And then the second week I was like, yeah, I'll vaguely remember that I read like 2-ish hours today. Yeah, I'll vaguely remember that I read, an hour and a half yesterday.
Yep.
And I'm like, I
Yep.
got to write it down.
It's tough.
It's hard.
We are having our end of reading soiree on March 2nd.
I'm so
from
glad you
11
said it
to
like
1.
that.
Yeah, here at the library. So if you sign up for the winter reading program, you can come and get your special mug, which is pretty awesome. And we'll have, crafts and snacks and maybe cats. We don't know. But
There's always a possibility
It's going
of
to be a fun
cats.
time. Yep. So that's it for you in books?
Yes, that's it for me in
Okay.
books. So shall we talk movies?
Yeah.
Do you have a movie of the month?
This is a tricky one because there's 3 that I want to tell you about. My featured movie of the month is going to be the one that we watched on Valentine's Day, even though I've seen it before and talked about it before, and that's Silver Lining Playbooks with Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper. I just
mean,
love
like
it.
if it's a movie, like
It's so good.
if it's a good pick, it can still be your pick.
Thank
you know?
you. Have you ever seen it?
I don't think I have.
Allie, Oh, you got to watch it. It's so good. One of the very few examples I can think of where I think the movie's better than the book.
Wow.
And it's great. It's just a great story. And we watched it on Valentine's Day, and it never disappoints. So if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, I mean, I would recommend them both. I think they're both good, and they're different enough that I think you can enjoy them both without being like, I already know.
But
what
should you
happens.
read the book first if the movie is better, so that you don't watch the movie and then feel disappointed when you read the book?
Good question. A lot of what's improved in the movie is one, the structure. The movie has a much more satisfying climax, and some of the subplots, particularly with Pat, who's Bradley Cooper's character, his family is a lot more developed in the movie, which again is odd. It's odd to say that, but that is true. So I really don't know. I prefer the movie, so I would maybe just say if you're going to choose one, go with the movie.
Fair enough.
Yeah. The other things I watched, one is called Malcolm and Marie, and it's with John David Washington and Zendaya, and it's feels like a play because it's just the two of them, and he's like a filmmaker, and they just finished a big award show for this film, and their relationship fractures. He doesn't thank her in his speech, and it kind of comes out that she feels like he borrowed a lot of her life from it, and she's an actress, and he didn't use her in the movie. So it just sort of like comes out that their relationship is fraught with all of these problems. And it's a real slow burn. And it's kind of like, oh, maybe things will be okay. Oh, things are awful. Maybe things will be okay. And it's this tightrope walk of keeping this like suspense of what's going to happen throughout the whole thing. And they're both really good in it. And the performances really sell it. So I would recommend that. And then I watched Bob Marley, One Love, which Malik and I just did a whole Bob Marley spotlight over in the How's Things feed, because we always do a Black History Month episode every year. And this year we settled on Bob Marley. So I learned a lot about Bob Marley just reading. I read some of the stuff we have here, and I've been listening to a lot of the music. And maybe because of that, I felt like the movie was a very shallow representation of the story. Mm-hmm. I just didn't understand what they chose to focus on, and I don't think that it really got the depth that a figure like Bob Marley deserved. So I was disappointed by it. Malik hasn't seen it yet, and I'm going to be interested to see what he thinks, because he goes much deeper in his Bob Marley fandom than I do. I mean, he really, loves Bob Marley. So interested to see what Malik thinks, but I was a little disappointed with it. And I looked up reviews afterwards, and it kind of seems like a lot of the reviews are kind of in the same vein of like, this was pretty surface,
That's unfortunate.
So
I have to admit that most of my knowledge of Bob Marley is like Three Little Birds.
Exactly.
I Shot the Sheriff.
Yep. That was me. I mean, that was me before Malik and I started.
Which, I mean, like, those are great songs.
I know. I mean, that's enough, right? But I really did appreciate that we have a graphic novel biography that's brand new.
Oh, that's really cool.
And it's very good. So if you're interested, I would say check that out, because Malik and I both read it just independently. We just both happened to read it and really enjoyed it. So
I love a good
those
graphic
are my three,
novel
but
biography.
I do too. But I'm gonna give it to Silver Linings Playbook. What about you? What are you doing movies wise?
Okay, so I watched a movie called Elemental with my family.
Oh, that Disney or Pixar or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
It looks so stupid. Was it good?
It did look kind of stupid, but it was my turn to pick. Or actually, it was my brother's turn to pick, but his movie wasn't ready. And my mom was like, hey, do you have something last minute? And I was like, sure, I can come up with something.
What does that mean, his movie wasn't ready?
Like, it hadn't come in from the library. The hold wasn't there or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm not sure the details, but I think probably the hold hadn't come in.
Not manifested.
Exactly. And so I was like, I looked at a couple movies, and the thing is, like, also when I'm watching movies with my family, I try to choose ones that I like think won't be like horribly violent or upsetting for my younger brothers, or for me when you come down to it.
There's nothing worse than watching a group movie and then like a sex scene starts,
and you're like, why did I choose
this? It takes a turn, and you're like,
yes.
Okay, this is very wholesome. This is a very wholesome thing you do.
Yeah,
this family movie
is kind of a wholesome little tradition.
Maybe too wholesome, if I might be so bold.
Be that as it may, I still enjoy it. And
good for you. Good for you. I don't want to take that from you. So Elemental, we're saying thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like the trailers for it like really don't do a great job of representing what it is, because I feel like the trailers emphasize, a little background on the movie for those who haven't seen it.
Let's do it.
It takes place in this city that's full of like element people. So there's like people that are made of water, people that are like clouds.
Elemental, yeah.
Yeah, people that are like plant people, kind of. And then there's also people that are just like made out of fire.
Right.
And basically, kind of the premise of the movie is that this fire girl named Ember and this water boy named Wade fall in love, but like this is a big taboo, and like how's
Romeo
it gonna
and
work?
Juliet scenario.
Exactly.
Tying it back
And
to
I feel like the
Shakespeare.
trailer really emphasizes the like Romeo and Juliet aspect
Yeah.
of it. But what it kind of like overlooks, which I feel like is entirely the point of the movie, is that like the fire people recently moved to Fire City from their like fire homeland.
Got it.
And so it's like most of the movie is kind of this like immigration story
What?
with like a Romeo and Juliet aspect.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay.
And the trailer's just like totally concealed that fact.
I mean,
and I feel like that's the most interesting part of it.
I don't know that I can really fault them. that doesn't seem like the makings for a exciting children's movie, but
I don't know. Well,
Okay.
it's also weird because it's like very much. I feel like a lot of like kids movies that have like romance in them, it's like sort of light on the romance or
Okay.
like I don't know. And so it's interesting to just be like, yep, these are two
Yeah.
characters who are like maybe young adults who could conceivably get married if they were allowed to because they're
Okay.
water and fire and they're
Okay.
just falling in love. And I was like, I don't feel like you usually see a kids movie that's like quite that committed to just being like, yep, we're having a romance between.
Okay.
I don't know. It was
Okay.
interesting, but I had a good time.
all right. Elemental. Who would have thought?
Better than you would expect.
Not me. Okay. All right. You know what? That reminds me, though. There is one other Shakespeare thing that I watched, and that's the Leonardo DiCaprio Claire Danes movie from the mid '90s. I saw that in high school on a double date and felt very sophisticated. We will be watching a Shakespeare movie after getting McDonald's.
Nice.
But I did think ahead, and I asked for them to take the pickles off so I didn't have to awkwardly take pickles off in front of a girl.
That's smart.
So-
That's smart. You don't
So-
like pickles?
Sophisticated. Well, I do now.
Oh, okay.
But I
okay.
didn't then. I
Okay.
didn't want pickles on the, and I didn't want her to see me taking pickles off.
Right.
Like
I
I'm-
could understand
Like
that.
I'm 11. I mean, I'm 15 for heaven's sakes. I
have to
tell
have your
them to take the
dignity.
pickles off.
I feel like one of the beautiful things about getting older is there's like so many foods that it's like I used to be like, nah, that now I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is a food that I can
Yeah.
eat. This is good.
Okay.
I used to hate beets. Now I love beets.
So what else are you watching?
Okay. So I also rewatched a couple of things.
Yes.
I rewatched Sense and Sensibility with Emma Thompson and Hugh Grant.
Okay.
A classic.
Good cast. Good cast.
Yeah. I feel like this is when I watched it as a kid, I was kind of like unimpressed by it. And then I rewatched it later and I was like, this is really good. What was my problem?
Who
I don't
knows?
understand.
All right.
And I also rewatched The Spy Who Dumped Me.
Now this is like a perennial favorite for you,
This
right?
is a
this
perennial
where you
favorite for
okay.
me.
Yeah.
Well, this, I like.
Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
I've seen
And it is hilarious.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
There are parts of it that I'm like, all right, like that wasn't as funny, but many parts of it are hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think I like watched it by myself like one summer and then I thought it was fantastic and I thought my sister would really like it. So I like immediately watched it again with my sister.
Okay.
And then I think we watched it again with our parents.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again
With your
friends.
parents, I guess I remember that being a little body, is it not?
It is, but like,
Okay.
whatever.
Okay, all right.
So then Caleb hadn't seen it and I was like, Caleb, you have to.
Gotta
so
do it. Yeah.
we watched it. It was fun.
Okay.
I had a good time.
Okay.
Kate McKinnon continues to
Yeah.
amuse me.
Yeah.
But that's
okay.
about it for my movie watching.
Okay.
Are you watching any shows?
I am. I just
That
started.
sounded so serious.
I just started Masters of the Air, which is on Apple. It's like a World War II story, which I've been looking forward to seeing for a long time. I've only watched one episode because my wife was like, I don't want to watch that. So
that
I
makes
have
it
to
hard.
watch it like at those times, when it's just me. But I am really enjoying it so far. Two things I finished. One was Gotham Knights. And we talked about this forever ago. And it was that one season CW show. It was like a Batman mystery show. And Batman without Batman because he dead. But it was just the one season. It resolves nicely, though, so you can watch it without fear.
That's good.
There is a tease for a season 2, which I was totally down for. But it doesn't ruin... Like, you can enjoy the whole season. And I didn't think anybody else in the world besides this watched me, but I did find someone who did, and that was your husband, who also
What are the
liked it.
chances?
So there's two of us.
There's two of you.
And then, Ally, I've been trying to finish Foundation, the Isaac Asimov, Foundation series. It's on Apple. First season was 10 episodes, and I think I've been watching this since 2021. It's just so slow, and I don't know if you read Asimov at all. Have you read anything like The Robot
I haven't,
or
but I've
Foundation?
overheard pieces of Foundation being read out loud
Okay.
in my household.
I've
So.
always heard, people have always said, you can't adapt Foundation. It's too much. the scope is too broad.
It seems like it would be hard.
Well, yes, and I do think that's true. The first book is really, it's almost like 4 books in one, and so I think they just thought, oh, we can't do that on TV. And so the series doesn't really do that. Like, it follows the core characters a little bit more, and it just... I don't know. I don't know that I've ever wanted to like a show as much as I want to like this show. And I just don't, you know?
That really is a tragedy.
Finally, like last night, my wife and I was like, we just got to finish these last 3 episodes. And so we did. Now, granted, I was bored and I spent probably a good hour of that talking with your husband about DC superhero shows.
So clearly a lot of attention was being paid.
That helped me get through it. So shout out to Caleb for that. But we got to the end of the season, and it doesn't really have a strong, like, this is the resolve.
Ooh.
But it started dropping these threads, and I'm like, well, darn it if I'm not interested in that. So I was really thinking I was just going to, like, cut it loose and be like, you know, Hillary, go with God. Watch this show by yourself. But now I kind of want to see what happens next. But this took me 3 years, so I don't know if I can... Yeah. I'm basically living out the concept of foundation, you know, which is... if they take these steps, they can reduce their dark ages from 30,000 years to 1,000 years. But it's like a multiple century plan that goes into effect. Right. And that's pretty much how I've been watching this show.
That's how it feels,
over multiple centuries. So
makes sense.
I guess I would say my featured show would be Gotham Knights, because I really feel like it had a lot going for it and was kind of a casualty of the whole CW being sold. So...
that makes sense.
Sad to see it go. But anyway, that's what I'm watching these days. And of course, Cobra Kai and Abbott Elementary, always in the rotation.
Fair enough.
What about you? What are you up to with television?
So I actually think the only show that I watched this month is The Odd Couple.
All right, but you can't tell me how you feel about it.
I can't tell you how I
feel
about it.
How many episodes in are you?
2, but one of them... I know.
You got a long way to go.
I know, but I got time.
It's like 10 episodes.
Yeah, I feel very confident. Okay. I'm planning to watch some of it this weekend.
Okay, nice.
I was watching it, and the autoplay feature skipped episode 2.
What?
It was like, okay, episode 1 is done. We're going to play the next one for you. And I was like, yeah, for sure. I don't want to use the remote or do anything. You just do it. And they played episode 3, and I was like, I didn't realize it until the episode was done, and I was closing out, and I was like, what the heck? There's this whole other episode that it just didn't show me.
That's not cool at all.
I know.
I did start rewatching it. I watched, I don't know, maybe the first 4 or 5 episodes, and I'm like, yeah, still good. I still like it. I can still...
always a good sign.
I can still watch the show over and over again. Anything else going on in your life?
Well, Caleb and I went to Florida for a week, which is part of why I haven't been watching anything.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
how was Florida?
It was very good.
Okay.
It was warm, and I got to pet jellyfish.
Yeah.
And manta rays. Well, not manta rays, stingrays.
Yeah.
And I got to see a hermit crab change shells before my eyes.
Yeah, you do not look like a person who spent a week in the Florida sun.
I don't tan at all.
Okay. All right.
Actually, I can tell. I'm like, I can tell that my freckles have come out a little bit. Like I'm not as white as I was, you know.
I have a freckle explosion. That's what happens when I'm in the sun.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like either I burn or just nothing happens. Those are kind of the options.
Okay.
So we went with nothing happens over being burned.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a good time.
I have not taken a trip to Florida or anywhere else. It's been a while since I've had a true vacation.
I guess it's time.
I know. I need to get something on the books for sure.
Have you been to Florida ever?
Oh, sure. Yeah. But honestly, it's been a long time. The last time I went a lot when I was a kid. The last time I was in Florida was on my honeymoon, which, as we discussed, was 17 years ago. So it's been a long time. I've been trying to work out because all of my friends are scattered. That's just friending as an adult sucks.
Yeah.
So all of my friends are just in different states. A lot of them are in not cool states like Ohio.
I like Ohio.
And New Jersey. Come on.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't want to go to those places.
Ohio can be nice depending on where you are.
Can it, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
My grandparents live in Ohio, and so I've been there quite a few times.
What part of Ohio do they live in?
Okay. They live in Walnut Creek. But I don't know where that is. Okay, that sounds compared to the rest of Ohio.
From a Susan Wiggs novel. I don't believe that's true.
I would believe that Susan Wiggs would set a novel in Walnut Creek. Okay. It would make sense.
Okay. Well, my friend Jesse lives in Mount Vernon, Ohio, and my friend Graham lives in Akron. So
I have actually been to Mount Vernon, Ohio, and I did like it.
Nice. All right. Yeah, I mean, Mount Vernon's fine. When I go to the PLA conference, I'm going to see both of them. So
Nice.
that'll be kind of fun. But yes, I have been trying to get something on the books where I meet up with like one of my high school buddies and one of my college buddies, and we're trying to like, it's like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? It's like what we're doing. We got a map spread out, and we're like, okay, if you come south and
Oh man, those things are so hard.
It is. Yeah.
And I feel like also staying in touch with people who are far away. I know that I'm particularly bad at it, but just in general, it is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like technology has made it as much better as you would anticipate.
Well, the reverse of that is I'm pretty good at it, but then I'm the one who has to do it because all my friends are bad at it. So I'm like,
well, it's like sometimes I'm the one who has to do it and I'm still bad at it. And so it's just like, it's really, it's rough.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've made it in art form, but it is still like, you really have to. You really have to put the time in,
Yeah.
So,
well, and I feel like so often too, if like, unless you like schedule calls, which like you have to like schedule, and that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
If you're just like messaging your friend and being like, how was your day and stuff like that, it's like you can just feel like you're talking to a robot sometimes because it's just like little words popping up.
I just trick my friends into doing podcasts with me, and then,
that's a really smart idea.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Okay. Well, anything else that we need to discuss here in the bookshelf episode?
Oh, I do have a miscellaneous thing that I've been doing.
Miscellaneous.
For the miscellaneous
okay. We'll file this under miscellaneous, everyone.
I have been playing on a Game Boy emulator, Pokemon Fire Red.
Oh, I love me some good emulation games.
This is my first experience with Pokemon in 24 years of life.
Okay. I played Pokemon Sun.
Okay.
On the Nintendo DS. And that's the only Pokemon game I ever played.
Okay. From what I can tell, there's like a bunch from a similar area that are like similar, but with different Pokemon that you can catch.
You're talking to the wrong person. I can't help you at all.
But one of my friends was like, based on what I know about you as a person and like your love for animals and monsters and creepy crawlies, I feel like you would really enjoy Pokemon. And I was like, that's probably true. It's just never happened. And so he downloaded this emulator on my phone and was like, all right, play. And I was like, now I can catch all these weird little guys and make them friends. Yeah.
See, the thing with me in playing Pokemon Sun was like, so I just walk around and like fight Pokemon? Like, what's the plot?
You catch them. I don't know if Sun has a plot.
No,
but the one I'm doing, you have to like beat these gym leaders.
Okay.
And then eventually, like sometimes your rival shows up and you have to fight your rival.
Yeah.
And he always, no matter which starter you choose, he always chooses the one that's like really effective against your starter, which is just rude.
Clever.
Yeah.
Clever. Yeah, I think I'm just like, but what am I supposed to accomplish? I'm just wandering around this village like looking for a rumble, trying to catch little monsters and balls,
And that's fair.
I don't know.
Fair.
It's
I think there are some
games
that are a little more plot heavy, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
Because again, this is my first experience.
I love the one where Pikachu's trying to find his biological mother. It's really plot heavy. It's really meaty. I'm playing Gotham Knights, not to be confused with the TV show of the same name.
Do they have anything?
Well,
are they related?
They have very similar premises, and they came out like at the same time, but they're not connected. Which I think
so weird,
so bizarre. But it is really fun. It is really fun. It's like we got a PS5 not too long ago, and this was like the game I wanted to play, and so it took me a minute to get used to the style, but now I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I rolled in on Harley Quinn, and I was not powerful enough to beat her, and I had to play that level. It tells you how many times you tried a level, and once I finally beat her, I tried 41 times over the course of days, not like...
Right.
But a lot of them were at once. But I did finally beat the Harley Quinn level, in case you were curious.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I realized that there's a graphic novel that's connected to the game, which we got to get for the collection.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you've got, it sounds like 7 or so episodes of The Odd Couple left to watch before our next get-together, where we'll sit down and talk all about Matthew Perry and Thomas Lennon in The Odd Couple. And I figure we'll touch on the movies and the classic Jack Klugman, Tony Randall show as well, and maybe the Neil Simon play. And then you got to come up with a new assignment for me. Do you have it locked and loaded? I do not. I have to decide. Okay. I have vague ideas. Couple things going on. But nothing is settled. All right. We'll see what happens. Well, remember, you can catch all the back episodes about Have You Tried as well as House Things. You can listen to all that over on soundcloud.com/allthebooks or find us on our Podbean channel for But Have You Tried. Make sure you check out the episode Malik and I just did on Bob Marley. And you can follow the podcast on all kinds of social media, so do it. Or else. All right, well, thanks for listening, and I hope you join us next time to talk about The Odd Couple. But for now, see you later. Okay. Bye. Bye.